Have you ever felt so passionately about something that the only solution is to stage a protest? They can be useful ways to get your point across, but nowadays it's necessary to try things out a little differently to ensure you stand out. Welcome to the world of unconventional protests as we take a look at 10 of the ones that had a major impact. Number 10. Harrison Ford's chest waxing. When he's not flying the Millennium Falcon or searching for crystal skulls, Harrison Ford takes on causes close to his heart. In 2008, the then 65-year-old worked with Conservation International, of which he's a board member, on their project to bring attention to the destruction of the world's rainforests. In the now famed video, Ford is seen taking part in some severe deforestation of his own, as a beautician waxes his thick chest hair, strip by strip. As he winces in pain as each clump of hair is removed, he speaks about how the ripping out of the rainforest is affecting each and every one of us and the air that we breathe. The actor has been an active part of the charity for 20 years, and through stunts like this, his fame has been used to bring heightened awareness to the issue. While watching it though, I can't help but wonder what would happen if Chewbacca had shown up for this shoot instead. Number 9. The cross-legged movement. You've probably heard of the phrase sex sells, but what if the opposite of it was used in a protest movement? Yes, how well does no sex sell? That's what women in the town of Barbacoas in Colombia decided to do in 2011, all to encourage local authorities to build a much-needed road. The town had been virtually cut off from the rest of the province for years, and despite numerous protests, including hunger strikes, the powers that be still haven't paved the road to allow access to new vehicles. This led to serious health and security issues, and the women of the town decided to take things up a notch. They began the cross-legged movement, where they banned all sexual activity in the town. 300 women took part, including the wife of the mayor. At first, the men found it funny, but they eventually joined in the 4-month protest with their own hunger strike, and surprisingly enough, the local government earmarked around $21 million for the development. This type of strike isn't even something new and has a history of successes. For example, a strike led by Lema Bowie in Liberia in 2003 helped bring the country's civil war to an end. Not only did it stop the violence, it won her a Nobel Peace Prize and helped propel Ellen Johnson Sirleaf to become Africa's first female president. It just goes to show that sexuality can be an empowering tool. Number 8. Protest against inhumane animal treatment. Animal welfare is an important issue for many people around the world and has led to some extreme protests to highlight inhuman treatment. In 2008, an English artist, Alice Newstead, staged a protest against the finning of sharks, a practice that sees the fins cut off sharks to make soup before the animals are released back into the ocean to die. She shocked onlookers as she was impaled through the back with hooks and hung in the front window of a cosmetics store. As blood trickled from their wounds, she ensured that the crowd would never forget this very unconventional protest. Number 7. Japanese bus driver strike. Strikes happen around the world where workforces see no other alternative to put pressure on their employers. In some industries though, such as with the transport networks, they risk alienating the general public who rely on them to get around town. In May of 2018, a union of Japanese bus drivers found a novel way to get around this problem. They continued to work but refused to accept fares from passengers. The drivers of the city of Okayama were fighting for more favorable contracts, and they simply put blankets over their fare boxes and waved passengers on. This isn't the first time such a strike has happened, with similar events taking place in Brisbane and Sydney in 2017. The earliest known fare strike like this is thought to have happened in 1944 in a dispute involving Cleveland streetcar workers. Number 6. Italian workers' protest. Italian culture is so ingrained with the design and artistry that even their protests are done in a typically Italian way. In 2013, following some years of economic hardship, it was revealed that in the construction industry, the previous 5 years had seen the loss of 157,000 companies and more than 893,000 employees' jobs. To highlight this problem, those who had been affected joined together in what was called La Giornata della Collera, or the Day of Anger, and they came up with a unique way of showing it. In the public square outside the Milan Stock Exchange, they arranged 10,000 yellow hard hats to represent all of the jobs that had been lost in 2012. In the middle of the square, they placed a piece of artwork depicting a hand with a rather simple message being sent to the city's financial center. Together, it effectively demonstrates a powerfully wordless display of disappointment, frustration, and rage. Number 5. Student underwear protests. While at university, students are encouraged to widen their worldviews, so it's perhaps no surprise that they're often involved in protest movements. In 2012, students in Quebec were outraged at fee hikes, and hundreds of thousands of them went on a 9-week strike by refusing to attend their campus. Seems like an excuse to slack off if you ask me. Still, this culminated in a march through the streets of the chilly city, which saw the students strip down in their underwear and brave the cold to get the attention of lawmakers. And it certainly worked. Before the march, organizers made it clear that full nudity would not be allowed. But that's not always a concern for student protests. It seems nudity is the go-to for student protests. In the same year, a group of 25 Filipino students took part in the Yellow Balaclava protest against the anti-Muslim film Innocence of Muslims. As the name would suggest, the only thing these protesters wore were yellow balaclavas, and they let everything hang out for the world to see. They marched with their blue balloons onto campus to put pressure on the government to ban the movie from being seen. Number 4. The Maldivian Underwater Climate Summit. The effects of global warming are slowly starting to be seen around the world, but some countries have a more urgent cause for concern than others. The Maldives is one such place, and at just a few feet above sea level, it will take very little change for them to be washed away. This would be disastrous for the 350,000 inhabitants who live across the 1,192 coral islands that make up the country. To highlight this fact, in 2009, their government held a cabinet meeting with a difference. It took place underwater. The meeting lasted for 30 minutes and was held ahead of the UN climate change conference the following month, with the hope that it would apply pressure to the world to take action against increasing emissions. Number 3. Protests against TV talent shows. Whether you like them or hate them, TV talent shows have become a mainstay of modern life and often a route to a lucrative singing career. The most high-profile judge on these shows is Simon Cowell, but in 2009, in the country where it all started, a movement emerged to stop his chart dominance. The UK was where the Got Talent series and the X Factor began, and every year the most important music chart position, number 1 at Christmas, was being held by a winner of one of these shows. It became predictable, and the public had had enough. A Facebook campaign against Cowell's domination of the charts began, with the aim of preventing that year's winner, Joe McElderry, from reaching the coveted chart position. The suggested replacement? Killing in the Name by Rage Against the Machine. The campaign was a resounding success, and the X Factor winner was outsold by more than 50,000 copies. Rage Against the Machine got their first UK Christmas number 1, and families across the country refused to do anything anyone told them to. In an effort to thank their supporters who bought the single, the band pledged to give all profits of the single to the homelessness charity Shelter. Of course, this story has an unexpected ending, because it subsequently turned out that, as Rage's song was released by Sony Records, Simon Cowell would have benefited from it too. Number 2. European Farmer Protest. As part of the European Union, products can be transported and sold across the entire continent. That became an issue for dairy farmers on the continent, because a drop in international demand for milk, along with an increased number of competitors, meant that the market price for milk had become less than it cost to produce it. They realized that something had to be done, otherwise they would soon go out of business. Usually when this happens, the EU will step in and subsidize the farmers to help them stay in business during difficult periods. But this has not happened yet. So the European Milk Board helped to organize a protest. Thousands of farmers from Denmark, France, Germany, Ireland, Poland, and Spain, along with hundreds of tractors, traveled to Belgium to the European Parliament and spray-painted the building and riot police with fresh milk. They also set a trailer full of hay alight outside of the Parliament building and chanted late into the night. That was back in 2012, and still the issue persists. In fact, to deal with the oversupply of milk, the EU decided to stockpile it in powdered form. But in anticipation that this stockpile will be dumped on the market, further decreasing its price, farmers again organized a protest just last year by dumping 1 ton of powdered milk in front of the EU Summit Center in Brussels. It's an emotive way to promote the issue, but it seems like they're losing the battle. Number 1. Banned football fan. What lengths would you go to see your favorite team playing a match? Would you travel a long distance, cancel a family event, or even skip a day of work? One Turkish soccer fan took his support to new heights in 2018 after he had been banned from entering their stadium for a year. Desperate to see Denizlispor play, he hired himself a cherry picker and lifted himself high above the stands to get the best view in the house. It seemed like an ingenious plan, and definitely a great way to watch the match while protesting against the club for banning him in the first place. Unfortunately for the supporter, police soon arrived and forced him to move the crane away, but the day ended well for him. His team won by 5-0. So there you have it. Which of these would you have taken part in? And if you had the chance, what's the most unconventional type of protest you could imagine? Let me know in the comment section down below, and thanks for watching.